In 107 PCU, now in his mid-40s, Cormier finally received the orders he'd long been hoping for. His squadron would be reassigned to the Pioneer system, to at last deal with the infamous Crown Skull Buccaneers, one of Tantalus's oldest space piracy groups, and a persistent and much ignored thorn in the Assembly's side for almost a century. With his veteran squadron now in its fighting prime, and his favourite ships and commanders at his side, the Crown Skulls stood little chance against Cormier's campaign. Rooting out his enemy and shepherding them into position, Cormier forced the Buccaneers into 3 decisive actions across the course of less than 2 months, each of which loosened their grip on the system's trade and further dismantled the pirate fleet it had taken them decades to build, until at last, in a 4th and final action, he was ready to assault the Crown Skull's famous stronghold at the disused Yashoda Wainwright Gateforge. Forced to attack a fixed and defended fortification, and faced by the Buccaneers' most powerful remaining vessels under the command of Raiden Aitken, son of the Crown Skull's retired founder, Cormier found himself in a more difficult action than he had ever fought before, one for which the applications of his cavalry tactics were stretched to their limit. Though suffering the tragic loss of several ships and crews that had served him for years, Cormier ultimately proved victorious, enshrining the Battle of the Wainwright Gateforge as one of the most famous naval actions in Assembly history. For his deeds in the battle, Cormier was awarded the Lyrian Cross and promoted to Commodore, though while he was fond of the medal, he was far less fond of the desk. With his squadron's great deeds no longer occupying the public's attentions, and yet another change in administration, the Assembly lost interest in anti-piracy operations, and even the Crown Skull Buccaneers regained much of their lost strength. Frustrated by the inaction of Parliament and desperate to once again command a ship in action, even in spite of his increasing age, Cormier is reported to have joked, "If they should keep me from action for but 1 more year, I shall be obliged to turn pirate myself to find it." On the 139th of Solstice 109 PCU, Matthew Cormier, 2 days after his promotion to Rear Admiral, resigned from the CDF and set out with several of his comrades to form a mercenary free company in the Outer Assembly, the Winged Chevalier. Once more plying his lifetime of connections, Cormier was even able to get his hands on the decommissioned CSV Cuirassier, saving it from the shipbreaker's yard. Accounts of Cormier's later life are mixed and difficult to gauge in accuracy, but it is commonly reported that he married again in 112 to a 4th wife who was rumoured to be a former pirate herself, having met Cormier as a prisoner of one of his many battles years earlier. The exact date of Cormier's death is difficult to determine, but confirmed reports show that he continued to command his ship in battle on various mercenary contracts and escort jobs until at least the age of 76. Many ships and settlements have been named for Cormier in the decades since, and his Cuirassier class became the longest-serving warship classification in CDF history, even spawning an irregular lineage of alternative escort vessels across 2 further generations: the Carabinier class, which served its life in peacetime, and finally the Matthew Cormier class, which spent the final days of its short career fighting in the early years of the Frontier War. 52 years after his retirement in 161 PCU, after it was considered that enough time had passed that he must certainly have died, a proposal was successfully put forward at Admiralty House that Matthew Cormier should become the latest addition to the legendary Grey Vigil, where he continues to watch over Faltcrest Bay alongside the rest of the Assembly's greatest legends. Thank you for watching. You can get the Sojourn through various distributors, all of which are accessible through www.thesojournaudiodrama.com. You can also get the series through Patreon, where you'll be able to access various bonus features, including our visual dictionary, Guinevere cross-sections, and anthology shorts. Remember to join us on Discord and get regular updates on all upcoming Sojourn releases. All the related links can be found below this video. Fair winds.